Part of the family. No, he's part of the family. Phillip has been here at QVC for well over 20-some years.
30.
30 years? Oh my gosh. You never age. That's why I can't imagine.
Good taxidermy.
But I will tell you, this is Phillip's kind of last big hurrah before he heads off to Greenwich, which is where he does all of that landscape designing for the who's who of people up in Connecticut and up and down the East Coast. He is a horticulturalist. He has studied these plants.
Yes.
He knows everything about them, and we're going to start with a hydrangea tree. And this is a tree, not a plant. This is not a bush. This is a tree. This can go as tall as 12 feet tall. With that being said, what would you spend for a tree? There are hundreds of dollars. This one, we say conservatively it would be $200. Here at QVC, sale price less than $150. You can break that down to $30 a month, 5 monthly payments, and look at that.
Yes.
Imagine that in your yard.
And I do, because I've got plenty of them, and that is limelight. And
Yes.
Mary Beth, that is the largest of all of the hydrangeas in stature, but also the blooms are the largest of all of the hydrangeas.
Wow.
It is the most drought tolerant, and it's the most cold tolerant. That's in my backyard.
Yes.
I leave the old blooms on in the wintertime because the snow comes down on it. It's lovely. In the spring, the birds come and get bits to make the nest.
Sure, exactly.
But they make great dried arrangements, great fresh arrangements, and they begin the season with the lime-colored flowers. Then they go to these big football-shaped blossoms that are white, and that's all summer.
Look at this.
Yeah,
this is amazing. Let me get this one out. Look at this. And we actually have one of these at our yard, in our newer place.
Yes.
And they are massive. I mean, seriously, they are absolutely gorgeous. I do want to show you, speaking of massive, how about you're shipping this out?
Yes.
And look at me, I'm only 5'5". And look how tall this plant is.
We're not playing.
We're not playing.
This is the largest plant in the biggest pot to ever be shipped by QVC. We're shipping it out in a 3-gallon pot. So it's already a nice big pot, and the plant itself is already 4 feet tall. Wow. By the way, Mary Beth, this blooms like crazy this year.
This year?
This year, a whole lot this year. And give it room. If you've only got morning sun, it's just fine there.
Okay.
If you've got all day sun, it's just fine there too.
Okay.
But it's long lived. They can live up to 80 years. And think about...
That'll outlive you and me.
Well, it wouldn't have to live much longer to outlive me. But let me just tell you about this, is that I plant them in the back of the garden because I see the beautiful white blooms all summer. And most of your flowering trees are done in spring.
That's a good point.
They're finishing up now, so everything in your garden for the summer, for the most part, is knee-high at best. And this gives you a chance to have something big up top. And in Greenwich, I plant these behind my flower borders because it backlights everything, and it's like, okay, now we got Manhattan, not a low-rise apartment.
Because of the fact that this limelight looks like it glows in the dark. That's the basic bottom line.
These are the real flowers.
Wow.
This is what they do. Second year, yours can be this big. And I'll show you my shipping sample because I want to show you. You can see they've got the nice woody trunks already. Now, a lot of these are shipping out in 1-gallon pots. That's typical. That's why I'm shipping it out in a 3-gallon pot. I hadn't got time for something to be little. I want to be big straight up.
And how tall would it get this year? Because it's not going to be 12 feet tall this year. That would be when it matures, maybe 2 to 3 years down the line.
It'll be 7 or 8 feet tall this year.
Okay. Awesome.
So, and with lots of blooms. Like these are all the blooms right here. Feel them. They're nice and soft.
These are real.
They're lovely. They dry nicely. They're great for fresh arrangements. Now they start lime. They go to white, and the white blooms get bigger and bigger until they're the size of a football. And then come August, they go to the pale pink and then the darker pink. So it's a color changing hydrangea, and it is the only one out there that's going to be drought tolerant.
Look at that. And like you said, this is the centerpiece. If you are redoing your landscaping and you want that centerpiece tree, this is it. I got to tell you, there are a lot of centerpiece trees out there that you can spend $800, $900, $1,000 for, like maple, like those what do you call them? The maple leaf, the red maples or whatever.
Yes, and none of
things
those bloom.
And by the way, they die too quickly too. They don't last. Look at this. Is this a pollinator?
Yes, it is a pollinator.
Okay.
And they're just fabulous because they're nice and big. And I grew this one in a tree because the shrub forms, that one that we're showing right there, that is a shrub form.
I
Now,
see.
you see how it's got multiple trunks?
Right.
The tree form is ideal because it gives you room to plant other things underneath it.
Like that.
Or like the petunias that are coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in August when they go pink. But you've got room, if you've got a small garden, you've got room for one focal point.
Right.
This is the tree for you because it's all summer.
Right.
You don't want a spring blooming tree out there. It's like an overabundance of that, and then you have only have leaves all summer.
Right.
This gives you flowers all summer and that look all winter. I think that look is so handsome. I look out, I see it up in those blooms, and the birds are there making the nest now.
So let's talk.
Yes.
What kind of, now obviously this is in soil. When I get this home, it'll be in a tall box.
Yes.
You cut that box open so that you don't have to, you know, pull it. Don't try to pull a 3-pound or a 3-gallon pot
It opens nicely from the side.
Oh, does it? Perfect.
Yes, it does.
So then my question is, when we plant it, how deep does it need to go?
Not any deeper than it is in the pot.
Okay.
Never plant anything deeper than it is in its own pot as a rule of thumb because they will suffocate.
Interesting.
So that's it.
Okay.
And then give it room because keep in mind when I say it gets 12 feet tall, it'll also be 10 or 12 feet wide.
Yes.
So get some
Give
room
it
for it. You
room.
can also prune it back very easily in late winter.
Yeah.
But it's a low maintenance, high interest plant that lasts a long time.
Now tell me, what about your fertilizer? When do I do this? And by
Soon
the
as you
way,
plant it.
here is the bag. And real quickly, I want to tell you, this fertilizer is $28 or 3 payments of $9.33. For less than $40 a month, you would be able to get the tree and the fertilizer. And by the way, just to let you know, again, this could live to be 80 years old. And the best part is it looks great all year round.
Yes, it does. It's just a handsome, handsome tree.
Yeah.
So this is time-release fertilizer. Most fertilizers you have to mix up.
Yes.
And they're immediate release, which means, let me
You have
just
to keep
get
doing
down
it.
here. It's just sprinkle like you're feeding chickens. And if you never fed chickens before, this is how you feed chickens.
Exactly.
It's also how you fertilize your hydrangeas.
Yeah.
And water it in, and I fertilize mine once a month, and it gets
When it's young.
When it's young. And then after they get established, you don't have to do anything.
Or just maybe fertilize it once a year.
Or once a year. But even if you get in a drought situation, these don't fall apart like the mop heads.
Wow.
They will wilt, and it's like, oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Is it ever going to rain?
Right.
Well, this one is not going to give it up. That's why there's so many around this area.
Yeah.
They do need a frost.
Yeah.
So they work down to about Mobile, Alabama. If you live in a frost-free area, these are not for you.
Got it.
But for the vast portion of the country, they are. If you live in a really cold area, say Aspen, Colorado, or Minneapolis, these will work well in those very cold areas.
And by the way, not all of the hydrangea trees are as winter hardy as this one is.
That's correct.
And that's why this is so great for really a majority part of the country. I also want to just remind you, this would retail for $200. You're getting it at a sale price of less than $150. If you can afford $30 this month, $30 next month, $30 the following month, you have a tree, a big tree, a gorgeous tree, a tree that honestly gives you such great curb appeal and so little work.
Yes.
I mean, the first year or two, make sure you're giving it the fertilizer, make sure you're watering it, etc. But once it's established, you don't have to do anything.
It's good to go, and it's a great commemorative tree. A lot of people plant dogwoods and redbuds, which will live 15 to 18 years.
Right.
This lives 80 years. It's a great investment. And what I'm saying about my garden now, when I plant things in the garden, I want them to last. I don't want the garden to be falling apart. When I am, it's really depressing. You know, older gardeners, it's a sad thing when that happens.
Yeah, I know it. By the way, it comes with your growing guide. Don't lose these.
Yes.
Look for them in the box. Make sure you have them. You keep them. You put them in a shoebox or wherever you want to keep them. And I'll tell you what, that is one of the prettiest things we have offered ever on QVC. Just letting you know. Now, Philip's coming back with petunias. And you know what I like? These are, as you said,